Hey guys, and welcome to the Working Money Channel. The Dow Jones Industrial Average bubble is officially the exact same height as the Roaring 20s. This coming from the blockchain backer here on Twitter. And he is saying, he's bringing up some statistics here, 1921 to 1929. Okay, it was up over 504%. And now take a look, guys, from 2009 to 2024, we're in the same range here, up over 504% on the dot. Let's take a look at that chart here. He took a fractal pattern from, I guess, the S&P 500. No, it was the Dow Jones Industrial Average, and just kind of comparing that to what we are seeing today. So crypto prices are still roaring to new highs. Bitcoin on a tear as well, although we have not seen any kind of significant movement over the last few days. This is Bitcoin here on the daily chart. And right now we've got a Bitcoin price sitting at about $51,200 per coin. We have not seen any kind of meaningful movement either up or down. And I know at the beginning, about a month and a half ago, we were saying that the 0.618, we were going to see that mega retracement leading up to the Bitcoin halving. Well, guys, we haven't really seen that unless we are considering what we saw back when Bitcoin did come back down in this level here. Unless we are considering that the retracement. Now, for all intents and purposes, this would be a pretty small retracement, 20%, 21% give or take. But there have been points in history where we have not seen Bitcoin retrace all that much. Right before the halving, also we have to remember, even after the halving occurs, sometimes we still see Bitcoin retrace before that pump to the upside. So right now it's hanging on at the 0.702. That's another point here on the Fibonacci extension that the blockchain backer really does focus on when discussing technical analysis when it comes to a lot of these cryptocurrencies. JD down here saying, brother, what happened to 2022 in that crash that you were talking about way back then? Back then, the blockchain backer said, I believe the Dow Jones Industrial Average has popped, that the long bear market or Great Depression for the DJI has begun. So that was in and around this point here. I don't know if you guys were here for that point in time, the SPY. And when we saw that over here, 2020. No, it wasn't there. It was over here, 2022. When the entire crypto market saw a bear market, but we also did see the SPY, the S&P 500 also come back down, correcting, rejigging itself. That was about 27.5% back in 2022. So, nobody's perfect. Nobody has a crystal ball. We can only kind of best guess what the market is going to do next based on historical moves that we've seen. You guys can see greed receding now, 72. It was at 75 earlier this week. Market cap at $1.95 trillion. So that has gone down a little bit by 1.14%. 24-hour volume too, down 16.9%. So not as intense as we've seen it in the past. Bitcoin dominance still holding on though. Bitcoin still the leader of the pack. We're seeing Bitcoin down a little bit, but we have not seen this number really fluctuate too much. We've got Ethereum, that's also down 1.5. BNB coin down 1.6. Solana is down almost 3%. XRP down a little bit too, 1.61% for XRP. And I know you guys have probably been checking your phones. XRP still doing its thing, still staying in this range here, still forming that upward trend, that upward trajectory, set up for blast off once we do see this market rocking and rolling. So that is good. We're not seeing it dip down. We're seeing it slowly creep up, similar to what we saw back in here. Remember, it went down and then slowly started making its way up before we saw it pop right in here. And then, unfortunately, we got that black swan event before it started moving up higher to the upside. I recently also did analyze a prediction price model for XRP. Had we never seen this black swan event over here, if you guys didn't catch that video, I will link it up here in the top right-hand corner. I think this time it's going to be different. I think this time, too, it's actually looking even better than we've seen it in the past. Longer the base, higher in space. Bitcoin, obviously the leader, but XRP always does follow a Bitcoin pump to the upside, and I think we have to wait for that euphoria phase, which will likely come later in 2024 and maybe into 2025. So what else is out there today? Bitcoin Magazine just posted this. This is just in. European Central Bank gets fact-checked after saying Bitcoin is costly, inconvenient, and has failed. But the funny thing about this, the big 180 that occurred right after, I'm going to talk about that. European Central Bank posted this. Okay, this was directly on their X account. Bitcoin has failed to become a global centralized, or rather decentralized digital currency, instead falling victim to fraud and manipulation. The recent approval of an ETF doesn't change the fact that Bitcoin is costly, slow, and inconvenient. That is urged by the ECB blog, but Of course, we do get the fact check down here. 1 BTC is not preferable for criminals. Fiat, like the euro or the dollar is. Number 2, Bitcoin is an open monetary protocol and a decentralized store of value, but it continues on here. 3, the euro is losing its purchasing power against Bitcoin constantly. And 4, Bitcoin is good for the environment. With all these sources here backing up these claims, now this is the X platform backing up these claims for Bitcoin, then this is what happened just yesterday. Fred Krueger posting this. I have no words. Amazing reversal in just 24 hours. The ECB did come out saying this, guys. Can you believe it? The European Central Bank's strategic embrace of Bitcoin, a future forward vision. Yeah, that is that is now what is being touted here by the ECB. I couldn't believe it. And the other thing that kind of caught me off guard is this was written by Fred von Krueger. This guy over here, who's not Fred Krueger, this guy over here, that they've got kind of the same name. Not really, but kind of. The rest is equally astounding. I copied it here. Innovation and adaptability. First and foremost, the inclusion of Bitcoin on our balance sheet signifies the ECB's commitment to innovation and adaptability. Bitcoin, as the first and most widely recognized cryptocurrency, embodies the revolutionary potential of blockchain technology. By embracing Bitcoin, we are acknowledging the growing role of cryptocurrencies in the global financial ecosystem and positioning ourselves to be at the forefront of technological adoption. Now, the rest is linked in here. I'm not going to read the full thing, but I will link it in the description for you guys. Interesting to see that they have now made a 180. This, again, is the ECB. Remember, Christine Lagarde is the head of the ECB. Christine Lagarde's also gone on the record numerous times stating how Bitcoin is a threat to our democracy, to the monetary system, how we have to tamp it down. It's used for money laundering. But the narrative, guys, the narrative is changing very, very quickly. And, these are the opportunities we need to take hold of in order to maximize our crypto portfolios. I know some of you guys might think it's too late to maximize your crypto portfolio, but for my Patreon subscribers, you already know which coins have popped and which ones are still hanging out waiting for their time in the sun. There are still opportunities here, and if you guys want to see my crypto portfolio, some have moved already, but there are still some opportunities. It's at patreon.com/workingmoneychannel. It is only $5 a month for those of you guys who want to follow me. To be honest with you, there still may be some opportunities to get into some coins that have not popped yet, albeit those opportunities are getting slimmer and slimmer. Nevertheless, there are still coins that have not popped that I still think are great opportunities to buy into right now. But that could change at the drop of a hat. As governments regulate, as the SEC approves more Bitcoin ETFs, guys, the landscape changes. This is something we have to pay attention to, and I feel like this interview really does explain it very, very clearly. Something that I think we have to pay attention to for this bull run too. This one courtesy of Darren Moore. Listen to this.
You had some tweets over the weekend that caught the attention of the crypto crowd, basically calling these spot Bitcoin ETFs a mistake. Walk us through that argument.
Bitcoin and crypto is supposed to be a decentralized asset. No one owns it. No one can control it. No one can regulate it. But what we're doing now is we're centralizing the ownership of Bitcoin into the hands of a few people. Now, remember, they may represent thousands of individual investors, but on chain, Bitcoin only sees 10 new owners coming into the market, with the biggest one being IBIT or BlackRock. This puts a potential regulatory or a potential problem in this decentralization argument, because you're going to have a big, powerful group of owners, and they're going to have to abide by their regulators like the SEC and Gary Gensler, and they're already putting rules on them about, which wallets are allowable, that they won't allow in-kind transfer, and they're putting a lot of rules, and that might cause the crypto community to have to bend to those rules in order to keep the flows coming. So you're centralizing the ownership of a decentralized asset. And I just think that's incompatible in the long run if you believe the mission of cryptocurrencies to try and create an alternative financial system.
So Jim, this is an interesting point, and in my tweets on Bitcoin ETFs, I sometimes see some hardcore crypto people actually make that point. They're like, do we really want to give all our money to Larry Fink? That's one of the responses I get. Here's my comeback to that and why I was an advocate for the approval, which is the other ways to get exposure if you're kind of lazy and want to have it outsourced were expensive. Commissions on an exchange, MicroStrategy stock isn't exactly direct exposure. GBTC was like a closed-end fund. So we were like, well, at least ETFs will give investors the best possible deal in terms of the price tracking the NAV at a low cost. Seems like they're doing that. In that frame of reference, would you have any problem with that, or does that matter?
Well, no, I mean, I don't have a problem with investors wanting to buy it through an ETF. I just think that the industry itself and their, cheering this on and wanting this to happen is where I'm kind of concerned, because let's go back. Crypto is supposed to build an alternative financial system. It is supposed to be something different. It's supposed to be decentralized. It's not there, but it can be there if it gets development, it gets more coders, it gets more VC money into it to build out that system. I don't think a Bitcoin ETFs and having everybody follow into this is going to make it better. Oh, the price of these coins will go up and it'll be more likely that people want to invest in outside ventures and make it better. No, they'll just say, no, I won't invest in coding. I won't invest in VC. I'll just buy IBIT, or I'll just buy, one of the other ones, and I'll just watch it go up. And that will then retard the progress that this system is going to have, if, to put it in crypto terms, if everybody's just going to be a number go up cheerleader. I mean, yes, I want the price to go up, but I want it to go up for the right way, that we're building something of lasting value, not just everybody pile into all these 10 ETFs and let's just see if we can make a run at 70,000, the all-time high.
I get what he says completely, and I think he's got a great point here. The price has to go up for the right reasons, and, if we have institutional money controlling Bitcoin, well, is that going to control the rest of the crypto industry? Is that going to control the rest of altcoins and how they run? I think at this point in time, we're still early enough in the spec run. And if you've gotten into your cryptocurrencies before today, or, even whatever, you know what I mean? I think you're still in good shape. But, on the other hand, that is also to say that the industry is changing. And this could be our last hurrah, guys. That being said, though, I think Bitcoin does have a great future. For reasons like this, we've got rogue politicians like Nayib Bukele. In Washington yesterday, the government is funded by money printing, paper backed with paper, a bubble that will inevitably burst. Listen to this.
Someone could ask, well, so if the government can print unlimited amounts of money out of thin air, why do they collect taxes? I mean, in theory, it would make sense, right? If they can print unlimited amounts of money, why would they need taxes for? The answer is simple, but it's very shocking. The real problem is that you pay high taxes only to uphold the illusion that you are funding the government, which you are not. It's shocking, but it's true. The government is funded by money printing, paper backed with paper, a bubble that will inevitably burst. The situation is even worse than it seems, because if most Americans and the rest of the world were to become aware of this farce, confidence in your currency would be lost, the dollar would fall, and the Western civilization with it.
The president of El Salvador, ladies and gentlemen, Nayib Bukele, telling it like it is. The Western world in a lot of trouble. And again, I got to say, I'm very interested in visiting El Salvador for their new Bitcoin policy, using Bitcoin, accepting Bitcoin rather, as legal tender. And even Trump is getting on the Bitcoin train. Good morning, crypto here. Posting this, Donald Trump was asked if he would embrace Bitcoin. And here's what he said.
But isn't the next logical step for you to embrace Bitcoin? Because Bitcoin obviously is decentralized. The government can't get its hands on it. What about Bitcoin with all the young people, including African Americans, who are very interested in it?
Well, a lot of people are doing it. I always liked one currency. I call it a currency. I like the dollar. But a lot of people are doing it. And frankly, it's taken a life of its own. You probably have to do some regulation, as you know. But many people are embracing it. And more I'm seeing people wanting to pay Bitcoin. And you're seeing something that's interesting. So I can live with it one way or the other. I've always liked one really powerful thing, and that's called the dollar.
Yeah.
So Trump not saying that he's going to abolish Bitcoin or that Bitcoin is fraudulent, a scam, kind of like the other politicians are stating. But he does still believe in the US dollar. So I don't know. I mean, I guess we got to see what happens this coming November 2024. Also in the news, Tony Edward posting this. The news is spreading. This is why Elizabeth Warren is scrambling. Elizabeth Warren is vulnerable to challenger John Deaton, readers say. This has now come out from Boston.com. Could Warren be ousted by her new opponent? See what more than 500 readers who responded to our poll. So Massachusetts Senator Elizabeth Warren faces a new GOP challenger in her campaign for Senate. As we all know, Republican John Deaton, a former Marine and cryptocurrency attorney, announced on Monday that he will be challenging the incumbent. And guys, when 500 people responded to the survey, the majority, 57% said yes, Warren is vulnerable to Deaton in the race. But 39% said no, she is too entrenched in the state's political fabric to be ousted by a cryptocurrency attorney. So that was those were the results of the poll there. Although I do feel like things are heating up, and I do think that she is probably more worried than she's letting on. Bill Morgan here also pointing this out. This was another clip here from Fox Business. Charles Gasparino came on Liz Klayman's show discussing the new John Deaton announcement. Gasparino asked the critical question, why is Elizabeth Warren so afraid of John Deaton? She could be afraid. He is a much better candidate than she is. Listen to this.
John Deaton, this crypto attorney, he's the guy that's behind the Ripple. He was for the Ripple the XRP holders. He was essentially one of their top lawyers in fighting back the SEC assault on Ripple and XRP. She says he's got a chance. I didn't believe it. And then all of a sudden, she starts reporting about, this is really interesting, Liz. Elizabeth Warren, like one of the top senators in the country. Ensconced is sending all these emails out, frantically looking to raise money, calling him a MAGA GOPer that's backed up by Wall Street. I mean, it's so over the top. It's also so wrong.
He's not.
Well, he's not MAGA at all. He doesn't support either. I mean, he's essentially a moderate Republican, ex-Marine. Centrist guy, not MAGA. Basically says he's not crazy about either Biden or Trump. Mm-hmm. And he doesn't.
Like most of the country.
Like most of the country right now, if you believe in polls. He's kind of like there. And here's the other thing that's interesting. I had Ellie look this up. Her polling is starting to fade off. He might just have a chance. Now, I mean, obviously she's going to be raising a ton of money. She's trying to do it right now. She's employing other senators to help her out to raise money. So she's going to come at him with everything she's got. But you got to ask yourself, why is she so afraid of John Deaton, who essentially is a kind of a cult figure, a cult hero, I guess you could say, with a very narrow portion of the population that holds XRP, crypto. Mm-hmm. He does put out a popular blog. But, she sees something in him. And I think what she sees in him is that the country is in many ways not far right, not far left.
Right.
They're somewhere in the middle. They don't like what's going on in the border. They hate inflation. They don't like tons of spending. They don't like the far left. They hate wokeism. That's a lot of stuff that she stands for. And she might just lose independence in that state. Massachusetts is a wonky state. Mitt Romney was the governor. I think Charlie Baker was the last Republican governor recently. Or is he
popular? And Bill Weld was a Republican
So remember,
governor.
it can go back.
Paul
It can go back and forth. Who knows where this ends up? It'll be very interesting. Scott Brown had this seat before her. Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, remember, Republican. So this is going to be really interesting. Stay tuned. There's a reason why she's freaking out. It's not because of his bald head and his goatee and Marine.
Or his Marine chops.
Yeah, yes.
Thank you, Charlie. Welcome back.
His Marine chops, really? Okay. So Elizabeth Warren still freaking out, as pointed out by Charles Gasparino and Liz Klayman here on Fox Business. The former XRP lawyer coming out swinging for this campaign. I got to say, he's been doing a great job thus far. Also wanted to bring up this news, guys. Now, Anders here noticed a pattern. I don't know if you guys noticed this too. Going back to the European Central Bank, actually, Bitcoin has failed to become a global decentralized digital currency, instead falling victim to fraud and manipulation. So this was that statement that they made, and within 24 hours, of course, reversed that statement. This was actually posted here by somebody named Ulrich Binseal, okay, part of the system here. If you guys remember back in 2020 for Ripple Swell, the same guy, Ulrich Binseal here, was one of those speakers at Swell, part of the European Central Bank. And also just kind of moving along with this theme, Ben Bernanke says he doesn't see value in Bitcoin. Again, this is from May of 2022. And if you guys remember, I believe this was from 2019. Dr. Ben Bernanke also did speak at Swell back in 2019. So pointing this out, guys, because although Bitcoin, and it seems confusing, right? On the one hand, you have the European Central Bank saying, yeah, Bitcoin is fine and good and a good option for, investing, I guess. Yet at the same time, you're seeing, not meant for this financial system. And I think governments and financial institutions have been doing a really bad job. I think Ripple's been actually doing a better job at this, but governments, financial institutions, regulators actually have been doing quite a terrible job at trying to differentiate, trying to educate the public on which crypto is good, which crypto is bad, what the technology is behind it, what works, what doesn't work. Crypto Eddie here bringing this to our attention. Big announcements from SolidiFi. Now this partnership kind of nails it here. New on-demand liquidity solution using XRP built from scratch. So it's looking as though Ripple no longer the only game in town leveraging ODL. This is another company that is saying that they are going to be using XRP for on-demand liquidity purposes, building their independent system, but they are going to be using XRP. Listen to this.
Of course, we have been inspired by Ripple and what they're doing with cross-border payments and using XRP as a bridge asset. And from our own network, we have a few clients that actually are interested in this as well. So I'm also happy to announce that SolidiFi FX is in the process of getting registered within the Dubai International Financial Center. We had our pre-application approved by the regulator, the DFSA, and we're doing something very similar that Ripple is doing. We're building our own ODL system from scratch. So we're using XRP as a bridge asset. We're partnering with different exchanges around the world to facilitate cross-border payments. Our first step will actually to register the company in Dubai in DIFC and start with business-to-business cross-border payments, utilizing XRP as a bridge asset. It's a big project. It's not easy to get a license here in Dubai. The regulators are pretty strict. Before you're even allowed to perform any financial transactions, you need to show that, what you're doing is not something dodgy. It needs to work properly and according to our expectations. So we'll be entering a sandbox environment for a period of 3 to 6 months, where they'll be looking at how we're performing, how we're doing the compliance and all of these things. So just like Ripple, we have a compliance first approach, and we're making sure that all these things are in place before we actually launch the company. But SolidiFi FX is coming, and it will be within the next 6 to 8 months.
6 to 8 months, we are going to see even more XRP utility built on their very own system that will provide ODL to their customers, guys, using XRP. This is independent of Ripple. This is what's going to get the ecosystem up off the ground. So wanted to thank Crypto Eddie here and Ferdy here for his description of what this next phase is going to be for XRP utility. So guys, I'm seeing here a recipe for real world utility down the road. Even if we see Bitcoin being, as this gentleman here was saying, Bitcoin eventually merging into a new financial system. I mean, initially, this is going to get a lot of institutional money in the King crypto. However, there will be more room for manipulation. This, though, will not hurt XRP holders. If you do hold XRP for the long term, chances are we are going to see those prices move up and stay up very, very high based on the real world utility. That's just my opinion, but I want to hear what you guys think. Please subscribe to the channel, guys. We're so close to 100,000 subscribers. We're getting very, very close. I'm giving away 2 Ledger Nanos, a Ledger Nano X and a Ledger Nano S, but you have to be subscribed to win. So please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Like the video if you like the content I'm providing. I always love hearing your comments. See you in the next one, guys.